Hi everybody, it's Nana Marie in Quebec City. I tried to do everything I could to clear up my cough before I start, but it sounds like my voice is coming back a bit. That's good news. I did wake up this morning throwing up, even though I didn't eat yesterday. And after, I felt fine, and my voice was back. Well, I had a fever too. It was just like a flu in 5 minutes and it was over. It has a lot to do with the radiation, guys, in the nighttime. You can literally see waves, microwaves in the sky. Speaking of which, the other night, I was woken up and encouraged to look outside by my guides. And I often do that, and it's either the moon or the North Star standing there looking at me through my window. But this time, when I was looking out the window, I saw these big black blobs moving at a fairly fast pace from south to north. I'm facing west, so it was from south to north that there were clouds, but they were black dots, They weren't natural. And if you do some research, you'll find that they have had the capability of weather manipulation since World War II. And so when you see these mudslides suddenly, or what's the one that I saw over in British Columbia last year, a river, I don't know, something about a river in the sky. And that's what they do. They scoop up rivers and then they dump them wherever they want. So we've been under a satanic rule for a long time, since the scriptures were invented, which is hypnosis, which is our transcripts. And a lot of people are feeling themselves to be waking up to all that. And they're not willing to put any more effort into fear and shame and all of that. And they've gone on to New Age, they call it, type of group think. And it is a group think. And whenever you see a group think, it's a brainwash think. The Abraham, the Hicks that wrote books about the law of attraction and the secret and positive thinkers. And they, in addition to giving good information, they insert satanic information. And then people don't know the difference anymore. And anyway, people, whenever they've gone into something, they tend to go all in and be loyal to it. They can't take parts of it and leave the rest. They have to totally love a person or totally hate a person in this world. But I have news for the positive thinkers that really, I lose a lot of subscribers when I talk about this. But the positive thinkers are the worst of the worst of the worst in my mind. Because what they've done is they've trained their mind to pretend things aren't going on. If they look or if they acknowledge, then they might get it. Right? And in doing that kind of thought, we are ignoring what's going on in reality with suffering And there is a lot of human suffering going on if you don't know positive thinkers. It's everywhere. It's here in my house. It's a horrible world when you have tyrannical people who control students into destroying each other. Because of positive thinking. I want to show you something. A conversation I had with a guy in a group I'm in on Facebook. Some nice lady wrote, "Yay, a light bulb moment. I could not understand how somebody could forgive perpetrators of terrible stuff. I would think, that would be right. How could you possibly forgive them? But now I realize it's because they know the truth. We plan it all with them before we come here, and we're all in it together." And I said in my comment, this is all I said, I said, yeah, the very idea of forgiveness is absurd. And those positive thinkers, they love to have people to forgive, too. But this guy named Chris, he wrote me back a comment. Listen to what he said to me, okay? Listen carefully. Nana Marie Thomas, you should read a book about radical forgiveness. Google it. You might also ask a Christian about why Jesus existed. You might also consider whether forgiveness is morally better than revenge. You might consider if carrying grudges stuffs up one's psychology and your health. You might consider if forgiveness prevents bigotry and stereotyping and empathy. Consider reading up about non-duality to understand what all the talking about oneness is really all about. You might consider if all crimes committed is straight black and white, and if we really always get perfect verdict in our judgment. There's an old saying from an old book that he who is without sin casts the first stone. All I said to the other lady that wrote the post was, yes, the very idea of forgiveness is absurd. And then this is what this kind of tangent this guy went on. And I replied to him, it's not an old saying. Jesus said it, and you just threw a stone at me. And then Chris said, I did the wrong thing. I forgive myself for my rash words to reach you. Can you forgive me, or would that be absurd? And I said, well, that's my point. There's nothing to forgive in my mind. It puts me in a position higher than you. When you forgive others, you think you are better. You're not with sin. And then Chris came back to say, you are lucky then. I envy you that. Lots I have to work on still. And I said, work? Jesus avoided. Scripture studies and work. Talked an awful lot about slavery of the mind. Said they turned him into an idol star. We are all stars. And my source is Jesus. And then I said to him, what on earth would Jesus, King James, Elvis Presley, and Dylan Thomas, I said Dylan Thomas because that's my grandson, still alive, have in common? What group are we in? And does it allow for the idol stars to be reincarnated? Or is that just for fantasy? Asking for my now deceased son, who would love for folks to ignite their own Christ flame. We don't die, we come with one soulmate, we have a mission, a purpose, and a song. People put me down all day long for my messages of love and hope. Do you see my problem? And that's in a group called Reincarnation, Past Lives, and the Afterlife, you know. I get my message out not just in my videos, I do it in comments too. I've been told that I'm very effective at shocking people into thinking. And that's what I want to do. I want people to think for themselves. I don't want you to become a worshiper of any group or any man or any woman or me, anything at all, because we're all in this together. But I'm going to lose some subscribers today because I have quite a bit to go over, and it's a popular culture that will not like this one little bit, what I'm going to tell you. The popular cultures, they feel so righteous in what they do. You know, they think they work hard. They go to yoga. They collect crystals. They go for healing things with other people that are probably very sick in the head. Yeah, I've done that too. Reiki. I went for Reiki. I tell you guys, you can think up anything you want about any of these activities. Like yoga to me is hard. It's freaking painful, and it doesn't do anything for my good feelings and mood. It's just pain on my body in a group where people can see me suffering. Is that any different than worship of scriptures? Is it? Like in the deepest part of you? It's not. When you are set forth to suffer, and you're told to suffer, to get ahead, you're being commissioned by a liar. I started to talk yesterday about my sister who really literally turned into a reptile. And I told you people are going to have one or the other right now. We're going into Christ consciousness. People are waking up to their own power within, and that they are not powerless little minions here as an audience to life. They're starting to realize they're responsible and accountable to our Christ flames, which is our children, and how they're being destroyed in the family. And this Christ flame is going to be very, very angry. And there's not a lot of coping skills around here, I notice. People do not have coping skills. And that's what I'm here all about. Help people relax as the news comes, as the realization and wonder comes about our history and what's going on right now. You know, it's a war going on, and it's against humanity. And it's been put in high gear since World War II. And we've lost a lot of people through disease and weather. And that's not a God thing. That's not your flawed body. That's not climate change. You know, if you can be told anything and you're just going to believe it, you're going to manifest it. We manifest what we believe and are focused on. Our minds are very powerful. And my sister went off the deep end with me, and she literally foaming at the mouth. I mean, we were on the phone, but she was literally foaming at the mouth, I could tell. Where all that rage came from. Well, I know she married a very angry guy, and she'd been married for like 20 years. So maybe something happened. I don't know. But people are going to go one way or the other now. And if I were you, I would go the way that you can get the heck out of here, out of the suffering. out of the matrix. But my sister had a crystal store, right? And she's very popular. All of the narcissists are very popular. She's very popular, and she has a crystal store in Alberta. And I was just, I collected crystals, not any degree, and I don't know anything about them. I just think they're pretty things to handle, and they look pretty. That's all. That's the only, I don't put shit into idols, like I don't put any meaning other than what they are in front of me right now, what I can feel, touch, sense, taste. And they're rocks, and they're pretty rocks, and I like to collect them. But you go crazy if you're going to start putting meaning into rocks. And I'm going to go into further about rocks in a few minutes. These crystals, to me, is just a flip side or a feminine side to the Masons and all their love of their rocks and their stones. I'm going to lose some subscribers, and I don't care. I only want people around me that are open anyway, and that can see the truth in reality and are willing to step out of the fantasies here. But I saw on Facebook a sudden push for crystals. You could get a whole box of beautiful crystals, pillar crystals, and all sorts of crystals. I don't know the meaning of any of these crystals, right? But it's only $39 for a big box of these crystals. That seemed pretty cheap to me. And that's when I went, oh, nothing's cheap. Nothing's free. Because it's not. And then I remembered my sister and her crystal store and how she went reptilian with her thinking, her positive thinking, her denial of the truth over and over and over again to maintain this facade of positive thinking. I think crystals are curses, are used as a curse. I really do. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I wouldn't buy anything online, right? If you find a crystal, bless you. But going out and buying these things is a curse, I feel. I just feel strongly about that. I feel yoga hurts, and anything that hurts, even a thought hurts, I would get rid of it. Now we're going to talk about chakras. That's another thing these New Age people brought in. I don't know anything about chakras, and I don't know anything about the third eye. I think it's bullshit, okay? It makes you look like freaks, aliens, to me. I can feel the crown chakra and my heart chakra all the time. My crown chakra, my heart chakra. If that's what you want to put a name to, whatever it is, this portal, this opening, it is. I believe that with the crown chakra and the heart chakra. But they're going into the body and the temple with this chakras, right? And when you go into the body and temple, you're going back into the Stone Age. You're going back to worshiping the body when your body isn't you. You're going to have a new body soon. And lots of them. And you had other ones. This body is not to be worshipped because you're going to waste your time. I know runners and people that just go crazy with their gymnastics or whatever they're doing at the gym. They really have bad joints later on. They're ruining their old age by brutalizing it now. So that's what I wanted to say about chakras. And Reiki. Now, you don't know anybody. And if you judge somebody to be better than you or more godly than you, and you go to them for this Reiki healing, where they put their hands over you and do some imaginary work with you, I gather. I imagine that you're putting your faith again into somebody who thinks they're better than you. You know, instead of Reiki, I was a clinical hypnotherapist, healing people deeply in West Kelowna, British Columbia. Mind Miracles Hypnotherapy at the Family Wellness Treatment Center. That was my last career. And I was healing people left, right, and center. I tapped into something with the emotions, right? And I became a target and enemy of the state at the same time because they don't want you knowing this. That's why it shows I have 50 views. You know, that like I've been at this for 7 years and get no views. I have 700 and something subscribers and get no views. That's not a mistake. That's artificial intelligence wiping out spiritual intelligence. But they're going to keep in there all the chakra and yoga. They're going to allow you to keep thinking about those crystals you want to buy and worship and put meaning into. That's the path to hell. And that's what I'm here for, is to help you recover yourself. If you get mad at me and you get triggered, right? And a lot of people do. Suddenly I'll say something about something they really love. They've been in yoga for 50 years and it's just wonderful. Well, you know, some people get a lot of joy out of these things, and I'm not going to take that away from you. Go ahead. If you are getting joy out of it, please do it. But I don't see them enjoy it. When I go there at the studios, I go, whoa, bunch of uptight. They got something up their ass, those women. They're so uptight. And their face, right? Remember I told you about my sister's husband's face when they got married? His face was so angry, it's tense. But his words were soft. And he was pretending with his words. That's what reptiles do. They show themselves, but you don't look if there's words that say, no, I'm a nice guy. Come on over here, little lady. Okay. Guys, you can think up any feeling you want, right? Right now, just think up any feeling you want about anything. Like, especially if you're told and you're fed that it's good. Like I heard that we're going to war now in Yemen, right? And I'm thinking back to all the wars we've been to in the Middle East and all of the hoopla and love around going to war for democracy. Put a word there. It's for democracy. We're chopping off heads, we're killing kids, but it's for democracy. We want them to be like us. And then we thank our boys. We send our boys to begin with, and we're very, very fucking proud of them. And, you know, their uniform. Now, people are in love with uniforms. But that's fantasy. That's part of the fantasy. Right? The uniforms, the costumes, the lab coats, the judges' coats, the cop coats, they're to give you a message of who they are. But that's not who they really are. They're all like you underneath that. And you don't need to be afraid of them. None of them. I have worked with the highest educated. I have worked with the richest. I have worked with the poorest, and I have worked with the dumbest. And I'd work with the poorest and dumbest any day than to hang out with the rich and famous. They're in a game. You know, idle stars were created so that we would be removed from ourselves. God is an idol star here. Somebody out there for you to worship and hope to God He saves you, right? It's out there. It's not in you. And I ran a clinical hypnotherapy practice making a shitload of money while I was healing people. I had to stop. My heart, my Christ flame had to stop. It was going to go out. And it was just in time because I got very sick. But I knew I would never put my shingle up again to take money and tell people I can heal them better than they can heal themselves. The only thing I do now are these videos where I teach emotional intelligence, I teach coping skills, I help people cope in an insane world and help them hopefully feel normal. The ones who will never get me already feel the authority in themselves. They know more. They went to school. They studied it. Or they just know in their heads better than me. And I say to them, go back to your regular programming. This channel does not take prisoners. Don't want them. Don't want anybody struggling with me or judging me. Unless you're without sin. If you have no sin, if you never, sinned, be my guest. And isn't that what Jesus said? We can't judge. It would be wrong. Because you don't know. Like, look at this conversation I just showed you with that guy. I said the idea of forgiveness is absurd. And he went on a rant to me, throwing stones, putting me down, making me feel small. Do you make people feel small? Do you like making people feel small? Do you like shaming people? You're a good student. If you like making people feel small, you're a good student. Here. But you're going to really suffer next life. I'll tell you that, guys. Tell you that. What goes around comes around. There is no time. Time is a boomerang. We get born into our threads of life again. We can't die. And we sure can't go home. We cannot go home until we know our Christ flame again. It's like when you were a baby, where you're mostly just observing and laughing and exploring and excited about what you're touching, tasting, and feeling. That's a life of a baby. It's so exciting if you can remember. I can. Oh my God. I spend most of my time fantasizing here. I'm in my mind, going back to my childhood and remembering all those wonderful times that I discovered something new, or I felt something wonderful, or I really appreciated something. And I felt so good. And then slowly those moments started being covered up with fear and shame, because I was raised in an abusive home, which most of us are, and you don't even realize it. Somebody's getting abused. I mean, come on, it's been so ingrained in us for 2,700 years, you got to admit it. We're fucked up. Our brains have been programmed to worship stars, idol stars on TV, and take their advice. Even if they're men dressed as women, we're gonna think like men And we do think like men. Because these men have been dressing as women and pretending to be women, talking about themselves. And they're not. They're talking about a fantasy woman where women love football and sex all day and dressing like whores. What was Willie Nelson? A good-hearted woman loves a good-loving man. You know that he can go out and in the song, in the lyrics, he can go out and have all these women and be a bad guy, and she's such a good woman. She accepts him back. Changing partners is as normal as... Trust me, guys, changing partners was not normal 50, 60, 70 years ago. It happened, yes. But when people got committed to somebody, they kind of stuck it out. They worked it through. There's no mistake. If there's kids involved in your marriage, there is no mistake. It's a divine plan. There's no mistake if you're married with children. And that's sad. I know I don't want anybody feeling bad here. It's sad for all of us. We've all been through multiple divorces. My mother was divorced. I lost my dad when I was 4. That's all normal. And then normal to bring in another dad who goes in and fucks with you. Right? And then the family doesn't want to believe it. They want to turn their eyes. They don't want to look. They say, you're judging. How dare you accuse him? How dare you, ladies, accuse men? So shame really works well on the female spirit. Shame. And that's how they got us back in the Garden of Eden. Shame. Shame on your mother. And when you have thinking that is shameful, that you feel ashamed, you're no good. And I know that because that's the way I was. I was nothing compared to what I could have been if I wasn't walking around with shame for just being me, being a woman, the way I am. Crazy bitch. So you can think up any feeling you want, and we've thought up feelings like thanking our boys for their services. I see all day long in YouTube and other venues that people don't know say something, and then this person will spend a lot of energy either beating them up, like that guy tried to do, or loving them, putting all their love and emotion into this person they don't know. I talk very matter of fact on text. I don't give my emotions. I'm not giving my emotions to artificial intelligence. It drains me. It drains me. And I'm giving you some advice there too, guys. If you're putting your love and your adoration into others that you don't know, you're draining. And if you're hating on people that you don't know, you're draining. It's a matter of being true to your own feelings without influence. And the only way to really do that is to be okay with yourself. It took a long time emotionally for me to forgive myself when I saw my life review. It's not on the behavior, it's not on the sex, it was nothing like that, not on the drinking, nothing like that at all was the problem. in my life review. The problem was my denial of the truth at home. Just like my family, no better, right? And we will be no better. You think you're better than your family, but you're no better than your family. Trust me. But I was in denial too. And I saw it. No, I felt it. I felt my son's pain. And that's something a mother will find very difficult to forgive. But it can be done. It takes self-love. Again, I'm not going to say the word forgiveness. There's no... we all only have to forgive ourselves at the end of the day, and that's what I want to encourage everybody to do. You cannot forgive yourself if you're going to carry on. Right? That's common sense. If you're going to carry on, there's going to be no self-forgiveness. But I'm encouraging self-forgiveness for before you die. And then maybe you don't have to come back into this matrix. Right? You can evolve emotionally here before death, and it will be carried forward. But now I want to talk, I'm going to change, I have to talk to you about what's going on in the world right now so that you're aware of what to avoid, okay? Now, I talked to you about crystals and the stones, and the worship of stone is satanic. It is worship of the earth, and it's nothing to do with your Christ consciousness. And the body dies over and over and over again. So it's crazy and it's stressful on the body, and you'll die earlier with fear and worry and all of that. More relaxing needed and less judgment. And then judgment of good or bad just is. It just is the way I look at things. So it just is that they have been weather manipulating and wiping people out for a long time. Unnoticed, because everybody thinks it's God, right? And it's also the same with disease. People have been dying of cancers, Parkinson's, MS, all of these. I can't even count the number of diseases anymore. They just make up a new name to go with the symptoms. Oh, you got that. And then that person lives through that and dies early. It's the manifestation of your own mind that they want. They want you to manifest self-destruction, and they're winning at that. But it's not just the idol stars who are out there influencing us on TV and in social media. And they're everywhere, the idol stars, if you notice. And if you notice the women speaking, they're really men or boys dressed as women. But it's the more than them to worry about now. In fact, they're probably 50-50 in line with university students, the graduates, the ones who went to the alumni and fraternities, the ones who joined cults, because that's where they're finding these. They're finding young, vulnerable people who want to be rich and authoritative and wear a costume, like a doctor or a judge or whatever else costume. They want to feel important. And so they go and pay a lot of money to feel important going to school. And you put that much money and effort into going to school, you're going to see it through. Your mind will make you see it through. Even if it's bullshit, you're learning and you know it. And the students that are willing to break the rules a little bit, the ones that are a little a little chaotic, if you will. They are, what's it called? Hazed. They got hazing. They got rituals to see who would be willing to do what. And they're making these families. I guess they call them families. Some of them. But they're Freemasons. Do you know what a Freemason is? Stone again, right? It's a free stone. It's a Freemason. Free to ruin the world, maybe, because their whole concept is to create chaos for order, for control and order of their masters. But they don't know what they're doing, really. Some of them do. Some of them go on to their 33rd degree or wherever they want to go all the way up. But that's when they have to start sacrificing people in their families. Things they really love, they have to sacrifice. They have to sell their souls. A Freemason has. If they want to get anywhere with the satanic world, they have to sell their souls. And I just want to tell you something that I know intimately. Gladys Love, who, if you don't know, was Elvis Presley's mother, died in 1958 of a heart attack. The reports all are talking about her drinking and smoking. And that's probably why. You're going to come to that judgmental conclusion, aren't you? You're going to ignore it. You're not going to look deeper. You're going to say she died because she was a drinker and a smoker. But she loved Elvis. She's a nice lady. She died of a new weapon that can give heart attacks. That's right. And I don't know how I know that. But I knew that. And that's how she died. She didn't die of her smoking and drinking. It's just another way to cover up. And they've been covering up everything for 2,700 years. Everything truthful, they've been covering up. Well, I just wanted to let you know that Elvis wasn't in on that one. Elvis didn't sacrifice his mother. Which, he wasn't a Freemason either, and he wouldn't be, ever. But they wanted him to be. He was a military asset. He was a CIA asset. And they wanted him to pervert the masses. So he left too, at the age of 42, in 1977. So every story and every plan is perfect, if you want to know. But I want to go back to that heart attack thing. Donald Trump is a Freemason. And he is Jewish. And he's redheaded. Doesn't help him. And emotionally retarded. His vocabulary is 50 words, I think. Very, very pathetic man. He really is a pathetic creature. With so many worshipers, people don't care that he was married 3 times, has 5 kids, 3 different women. People don't care that he was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. People don't care that he had a rape charge dropped 3 weeks before his first election of a 13-year-old with Epstein. Of course, he had to cut ties, and they put stories out there. Now I haven't seen him in years. You guys believe the word over what you see in reality. You don't care that he was a gambler and he had casinos that all went bust. He's all about money and gold. And you know what bothers me the most is so many Christians and positive fucking thinkers that love him. It's because they're not looking. They don't care to know the truth. The difference between ignorance and apathy is I don't know is ignorance. I don't care is apathy. But Trump is definitely a Freemason. I saw a plaque on his office wall in one of his interviews. And if you're that type of person where you do look deeper and look around people's environment when they're talking, you will garner more information than what you're judging too. On the face of it, you cannot judge. You got to look around. So he's a Freemason. Just to let you know how popular Freemasons are, and you may not even know that, the Flintstones was a cartoon, and they were Freemasons. It was all Freemason symbology, raising kids. And so when they go to school and they're starting to be introduced to Freemason ideology from extracurricular activities, of course, they go in for it because it's ingrained in them from childhood, cartoons. There's other cartoons now that are totally Freemason. Who invented the Freemasons? The same tribe that invented Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Same at the top. Now there's different ideologies, little different, they have their differences. But the bottom line in all of them is to create fear. In all of them. And that's not of God. You have to know that. If you're reading something that's creating fear, or they're showing you things on television that's creating fear, then that's not of God. You've got to know you're watching Satan at work on your brain. If you buy it. So this theater going on with UK and US going after Yemen, to me, is the introduction of bringing the Middle East here. Because we're very weak and pathetic in America and Canada right now. They have completely wiped out sense, and it's all nonsense going on. And people are spinning. They don't know what's going on, and they either are blissfully unaware and ignorant and just going about their business and are going to be in for the shock of their lives. Or they know that this theater that's going on is designed to destroy humanity in weather, war, and disease. Those were the three main words that I got from the golden beans of light. Weather, disease, and war. The problem is we're participating in our own demise by listening to the idle stars, by not speaking up against lying media or lying politicians, by not bringing forth the evidence that we don't die. We can be fearless. That's what I have to do with my evidence, such as it is, and that's what I'll do until I die. And right now I have a great big fat hole in my heart. I have holes in my heart, and I have problems in my lungs, but I'm getting through everything. I got pneumonia and I didn't die. So I'm not going to die yet. When I'm ready, I'll die. It's not. To me, I got things to do. I got things to enjoy still here in my little apartment. I love my apartment. I am very happy and at peace in my own space, and I can live with myself, and I don't have to glom onto other people to get my energy. I am completely at peace. But I've been having heart problems for 20 years. I just remembered. I forgot all about this. I was in palliative care once for my heart. Yeah, they were going to write me off. It was in 2004. I left Gary to go to, I really wanted out of that house. So I made the excuse of going back to school in Thompson, Okanagan University there, I think it's called, in Kamloops. I was going to go in, stay with my aunt who lived in Kamloops. And I brought Caitlin, my granddaughter, to live there too. We were living there in Kamloops while I was going to school, but one day I came out of the school and I felt pain, sharp pain, going up and down my arms. One arm. And then I lost my breath and I couldn't breathe. So I sat in my car and somebody came over to me and I guess they called an ambulance. I didn't black out or anything. I was in the waiting room for a long time. And then they put me in palliative care. They put me in palliative care. Every couple of hours, somebody died now. It's like they brought them in to die beside me. And nobody came to visit. Not my aunt, nobody. I was in palliative care in Kamloops, BC, by myself at the Royal Inland Hospital for a week. But I really didn't feel like I was dying, and I wondered why I was there. And they had this heart monitor thing on me, same kind of heart monitor they had at this recent bout at the hospital. They had this heart monitor on me. And I unplugged it. And I went downstairs outside and had a cigarette. And I came back up, and oh my God, the doctor just screamed at me for smoking. Yeah, it's my life, right? Like, what nerve do these authorities have over you? And they really do think they have authority over you. But I left palliative care, and I really didn't have another heart problem until recently. It didn't come back until recently. So, I just wanted to say that, don't give in. If you're going into palliative care, you may not be at the end yet. If you've got a disease, it may not be the end yet, unless you think so. If you think so, you can probably manifest it. But I have to go back to Donald Trump and the Freemasons, because he's all of them in one. He's redheaded, he's Jewish, and he's a Freemason. And I believe the redheaded tribe invented the Jews. I really do. It's the first religion, and it was so ingrained in our consciousness so early, right? It's so early in our consciousness that but the book of Torah is a satanic book. And they have satanic rituals and practices. And people muster up their own good feelings doing these practices. See what I mean? Like, you can muster up good feelings doing it. But if the act is worthless, the good feeling is worthless. Sounds like somebody's out there shoveling the snow. I shut my windows because it's not snowing. If it was snowing, I would show you the snowfall, but it's just gray out there. Within 5 minutes, I saw the cloud come over. It was so sunny this morning, and then in 5 minutes, a big cloud came over, and now we're expecting some pretty terrible weather. Anyway, back to Trump. What was I going to say? He sacrificed his wife, his first wife, recently, a year or two ago. He sacrificed her with one of those heart attack guns. I know it. I feel it. I know it. I know he would never have sacrificed Ivanka. I know they all, if they want to get to 33rd or ahead, like the presidency, they all have to sacrifice somebody in their family. In their family. That's how low their thinking can go. And if you look at a lot of the idol stars, they all lost a first son to suicide. But his first wife, Ivanka's mother, might have been a replacement for Ivanka. Because that's who they would ask him to sacrifice. And that's what they're doing, guys. They're sacrificing family members to get ahead for this tribe. It came to me with such a... I see her in my eyes, like in my mind's eye. I want to talk about the mind's eye too. I see her in my mind's eye being shot by a heart attack, weapon. It felt like it was me. And as I've told you, Gladys Love died the same way. Interesting, eh? I'm just putting it out there. They have to sacrifice somebody. It is Satan ruling the world. It's time for everybody to know and recognize the difference between right and wrong. And if your worship or your practices hurt, stop them. If you feel horrible all the time, stop that thinking. Whatever you're thinking, stop it. There's no need to think horrible about yourself or anybody. It is what it is. Putting emotions into other people or negative emotions into yourself keeps us down and not receptive to the Christ flame that we have. Accessible at any moment. Takes a minute. You just gotta want. You just have to want love more than you hate chaos. But people are addicted to chaos and drama now. They get their emotions fed this way. And they're just like zombies scrambling around wondering what to do next. And they have to be told what to do next. Or they have to read it in a book, what to do next. And they have no sense of survival. If history is true, World War II and the bloodbath, if it's true, I'm not saying it's true or not. It's going to happen again and again and again and worse and worse. Well, it's going to happen here now. Our military's been weakened. Our leaders have sold us out to a global ideal, a global world, a satanic global world with really wicked people and wicked ideas. They're not human, but they're paying humans to carry it out. They're paying humans to carry it out, or they are grooming humans to carry it out. And most of the people are groomed to carry it out for them. You have to know what you're doing here. This is your earth. This is your house to build. How do you want it to look? More importantly, how do you want it to feel? How do you want your house to feel? Well, guess who has to bring those feelings? Us. We have to bring joy. We have to bring good feelings back. We have to allow good feelings. And the only way we can do that is to stop judging people and relax. Let it go. It's okay. It's their story. Even if you got issues with your parents or your kids or your loved one, it's their story is not your story. You're a part in their story, but your story is not their story. And you don't know their story, the whole story. I get so many people judge me based on one video without knowing my story of how I get my information or where I came from, what happened to me. Because I can't get that all out in one video every freaking time. And people just outright attack me for things I say that they don't know nothing about. So I'm a human behavior observer. I observe everything. I look behind the scenes. I read into things. I analyze things. I'm my ex-husband's worst nightmare now. I was not analyzing or reading into things because they all told me not to in my life. I was ashamed to read into things and analyze things and be a conspiracy theorist. I was ashamed of doing that because the masses made me ashamed of doing that. So I could never get out my truth, my reality, when I'm living for others or other gods. So the Jews invented, the Jews are very much, the Orthodox Jews in New York have human trafficking tunnels going on. It's well known that they're human trafficking with children, okay? We know it, but nobody's doing anything about it. I think they are. I think something's coming, and I think it's Christ-inspired. Really, I do. So as you're watching the show, even if you die or something, as you're watching the show, understand it could be Christ-inspired. That Christ is in people, and they can't stand to see. You see, they found these soiled mattresses in these tunnels, soiled mattresses, and they found high chairs. Now, of course, it was a Freemason bringing the news. Always a Freemason brings this terrible news. So you wonder how much of it is true or not, right? But it is true. Just based on the sacrifices I've seen the idol stars make, they're fucking capable of anything. Of protecting this kind of activity. For money, for rich, fame, they will protect these entities. I tend to believe that it's true because of other dots that connect to the human trafficking and lung industry now, or organ industry now, where I've told you before, you cannot transfer a dead organ. It won't work in a new person, a dead organ. It is coming from a live person. And there's no such thing as brain dead. You see, they just say words, these people in white coats. They just say words, and you believe it, and you give up your people. And I know somebody I care about deeply recently, somebody follows me, who had that situation happen, or somebody they know was dying, they were told. And do you want to give their organs up? Yeah, okay, yeah, it's a good thing. We can muster up good feelings about this death by giving up his organs. Come on, that's the temple. That's fear of death. That's given up. It's given up. How much time have I been talking here? Okay, I think that's enough. I'm sorry I was kind of all over the map, but I hope you got something out of it. When you have any questions, I encourage you to ask me. Don't tell me. Ask me what I'm talking about, because I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to take your money, and I don't want your adoration or worship. I want to bring to you Christ. It's in you.